you. They came for me, they're going to come for you. They're coming for you. Is that a good opening line? Look, as we are witnessing in real time as I'm recording this, my name is Avi Penhollow. You're watching Penhollow Studio Labs. And as I speak, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are trying to destroy each other, supposedly. We don't really know what the narrative is going to be tomorrow, nor does it matter. In my personal life, for those of you who've been on this channel, there's a lot of different avenues that you could have come here. I've done a lot of different things. This channel was never really meant to be a channel. It was just my personal space where I would upload things, and some of it had to do with my academics, my work in Hawaii, my various readings of things through resonance literacy. And so however you got here, that's great. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what this channel is going to become and what it's going to be doing. It's not going to be political talk or anything like that. So take a ride with me. I just want to tell you a little story about something that just happened where my account was not suspended. I'm not in Facebook jail. I'm in Facebook grave, a Facebook grave. They basically deleted my account with absolutely no explanation. And this is not the first time. So let's go. As we dive into this, I just wanted to say the camera will shake a little bit because I'm on the freeway here in Southern California. Now, I've been in Southern California for about 4 years now, and I don't even know where to begin. But prior to that, I was in Missouri. I left Hawaii with my wife and kids because I started a PhD program at the University of Missouri in language and literacies for social transformation with some incredible people who I met while I was working in Hawaii at a what's called a culture-focused school, primarily for, and excuse me while I stay safe here, but for Kanaka Maoli, which are the indigenous peoples of the islands prior to colonization. And I ended up there through a long series of events in my own life. So when I arrived in Hawaii, I was not there to try to save anybody. I wasn't there to try to, spread my own ideas and that kind of thing. I had already done some research over the years, and my work primarily in education has been in what we call critical pedagogy or critical literacy. It's education questioning itself, education questioning its motives and its purpose. And many times I've sat in teacher, what we call PLCs, or professional learning, and I've often just had one question rolling on in my mind. It is, what is the purpose of education? And it seems like such a oversimplified question. But to me, that's the question that always emerges when I'm bored out of my skull at some of these education meetings where we're going over the latest trends and acronyms and blah, blah, blah. And it comes back to another word for me, and that is intentionality. What's your purpose? What are you doing this for? What are you doing anything for? And that question is far more profound than it sounds like on the surface. What's your MO would be another way to put it. And so when I was in Hawaii, I was there because I had been studying for a long time the idea that in critical pedagogy is that education has never been neutral. And so when you talk about public education, you have to also not be under any false understanding that there was a time in U.S. history that education was not political, or when there was never a time that it was politically neutral. That time never existed, as much as people like to pretend that that's the case. And as Howard Zinn once said, you cannot be neutral on a moving train. This is not a video for me to dive into that, but if you're interested in critical pedagogy, you can find a ton of things on it. I know you know how to use the internet, or you wouldn't be here. So how it relates to culture-based education in Hawaii is looking at education from the lens of the learning community. And in Hawaii, that would be, and this is just the short version, there are many of you who've come here through my videos on Dakine and my horrible butchering of pigeon and, but this is related. What I'm trying to say is my background and how I ended up in Waianae had to do with studying for many years the purposes of education, and I was well aware when I moved there that the Western colonizing forces largely use religion and education to subjugate or to internally colonize people, take away the Hawaiian language. So the school that I worked at, I'm very proud of, met some of the most beautiful people in my life, and my heart is still there. That's what led me there. And then while I was working there, I met my wife and two beautiful children, and I was working on at that time my graduate studies in English education, and I met some faculty from the university, and they invited me to speak about my experience teaching and learning and developing teaching and learning materials in the Hawaiian context. Primarily dismantling the pillars of white supremacy in education. And I know it's not it's like a reverse pillar. I don't know, I'm not even gonna go there, but it's not like good to use those words nowadays, in the current political climate, but that pretty much was what it was about. And then a question about, is it possible to indigenize, and in my case, English education, but you could apply it to any content area, indigenizing English education. And that was actually the title of the presentation. I'm sorry, I was invited to the National Council of Teachers of English in 2019 in Baltimore to speak with a panel of other people working in this field. And I ended my presentation with the question is it even possible to indigenize English education? Because the subject that we call English in school is already loaded with a lot of ideological, philosophical, and cultural components. And so I answered the question, in my own context of how it was playing out in Hawaii. I think there's some videos on this channel about that. And then I finally ended the session with this questioning, can that happen? Now, if you're here watching this and you're wondering, well, what the hell is this all about? This channel's going through a rebrand And it was never a brand to begin with, so now it is going to start being branded. I'm going to be covering things that I've worked on for the last quarter of a century in reading, writing, speaking, listening, education policy, but also to introduce Penhallow Studio Labs, which is basically a publishing company that I'm starting to cover the things that I think need to be put out more immediate than trying to fish around looking for traditional publishing, which I don't see as a sustainable model going forward for someone like myself. So that being said, as I was getting started on all of this stuff, my social media accounts, Meta, so Instagram and Facebook, were deleted by Meta with no explanation, because they don't need to give one, and no explanation at all. It can happen to you. And if you run pages, this is what I said on my other channel, the Proximity Portal. I'll put a link to that at the end of this video and in the comments. I run another channel called the Proximity Portal, which covers a range of material, but a lot of what I'm talking about right now has been appearing on there. And that would be how these large tech companies and political forces that have joined together in recent times are probably the greatest threat to freedom and to our viability as a society. I really believe that. Peter Thiel, his name is now just starting to become a little more well known. If you don't know that name, you should get to know it, because Peter Thiel is probably one of the most powerful individuals behind the curtain of the current administration and of a lot of these things we see playing out. But my account was taken down primarily, in my view, because since Zuckerberg relaxed the rules of Facebook, the community standards, I've seen a huge uptick in incredibly violent, hateful speech and misinformation. Now, it was already there, obviously, beforehand. But since he relaxed those rules in the name of free speech, it's gone on steroids. You can pretty much say whatever you want. Or can you? And that's my point. Unless what you are saying and what you are doing isn't liked by certain individuals that are close to power. Let me just put it that way. So I was posting very aggressively on the federal department agency sites, such as the Department of Education. Linda McMahon, the current WWE unqualified head of the Department of Education, doesn't know the difference between A1 steak sauce and artificial intelligence, doesn't know what IDEA stands for, individuals with disabilities. That's the major legislation, that primarily civil rights legislation for disabled students. These people don't like it when they get called out. And I was very aggressive, and I was matching the energy of what I was seeing online, which I do admit does violate community standards as they used to be on Facebook and Meta platforms. Used to be. I was violating community standards, probably. I mean, I wasn't doing anything overtly. For example, never violence, never hate speech, but very aggressive speech against the stupidity and ineptitude of those who are being appointed to highest positions in the land. And so I was matching the energy of what I was seeing from truly violent, truly hateful, and just absolutely disgusting misinformation going on right now in social media since about January, when Zuckerberg capitulated to the Trump regime trying to get close to power. We all see where that goes. Today, Elon Musk is no longer, I guess, part of Doge, and now they're having a flame war going on. I really don't care about them and what happens to them. I really don't care. But these are the things that got me deplatformed or unplugged with no explanation. And the problem with that, of course, those what you need to remember if you have an account on the Meta platform and you want to run other pages, maybe you have a business, maybe you have a community or a church or whatever, be careful. Make sure that if you have an account on Meta and then you run several pages, make sure that you share administrative rights with at least one or two other people, so that should you get unplugged, your pages are still available for your business, for your church, community, organization, or whatever. Now, I've not even had time to go and check and see like which of my pages are still around or not. I've been through this before. That's what I was gonna say. 2 years ago, I lost my first Meta account, and that one was a different circumstance, though. That was I got hacked, and in the span of like a couple hours, whoever hacked my account must have done some terrible things. And so I remember I was driving from work to the library where I was going to go write. I was going to work on a book I was writing, and I went to open up one of these pages, and it was gone. I received a message that said your account has been permanently deleted, and there's no, I can't remember the language exactly, but it basically said there's no way to recover it. You're gone. And that's when I learned the hard way that if something like that ever happens, there's really nothing you can do about it, because Meta goes out of their way to make sure that you can't appeal. They don't want any interaction with you whatsoever. They just want your data. And so that particular case, I learned the hard way that, yeah, there's some proprietary people who claim that they can recover your account. But I refused to pay somebody to recover my account when I didn't do anything wrong. So I restarted. I started over. I just happened to have another kind of dormant Facebook account through a ministry page that I ran or had. And so I just converted that back over to my personal account and then set up all my other pages underneath it, and started moving forward again. But that's the account I'm talking about that was just deleted 2 days ago. It's not been deleted. This one it said it's suspended, but it's one of those permanent type things that's not like you're in Facebook jail for 30 days or whatever. It's basically gone. And then I went and checked one of my sub pages, or one of the pages I run, and it is definitely gone. That one I'm kind of angry about, because I do believe that I shared administrative privileges to somebody else, and I'm not sure if they can even access it at this point. So all that to say, this most recent one is different. Nobody hacked my account to my knowledge, because there are no traces of being hacked. Let's put it that way. Nobody got any weird messages from me. There was just no traces of that. But what there was is my frequent aggressive posts to the various departments. And of course, out of thousands and thousands of posts, why should they care about mine? Well, I had a pattern of having my notifications set so that I could immediately respond when Linda McMahon would post, or the Department of Education or any of these other. And so I started to garner the attention of certain folks. One of them is a Fox News host who began to start liking my comments, hearting my comments, both in their pages like Fox News and all these other agencies I just mentioned, but also on my own page. I noticed that this person was liking things that were extremely sarcastic or against the current administration. Critiques, not just insults. And I was curious. I'm like, I know that this person does not agree or like or want to heart my stuff. So why are they paying attention? So I sent her a message, and I just basically said, is there a reason, that you're interacting with my content? And of course I didn't get a response, but 2 days ago, my account was completely unplugged. I am not trying to suggest that this person had anything to do with it, but I wouldn't doubt it. These guys are very savvy with, their social media teams. You can collectively go after somebody and report a page. You can do that. And the problem I will always have with Meta, I've got a lot of problems with Zuckerberg and that, but one of the problems legally that I think should be addressed with a company like Meta is that people who have such things happen to them should be able to have recourse, or at least in the appeals process. They say they have an appeals process. It's just a button that you click, and which leads to nowhere. They say you have 120 days. You click the button, but they don't give you any forms or any way to really feedback or give feedback. And of course, they're not going to let you talk to a real person who could perhaps analyze it. So they don't even give you AI to do that, which I actually would trust maybe even more, than a human being at this point when it comes to analyzing what did or didn't happen. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to share a couple of those things on this channel because I'm more active on the proximity portal, which the link will be in the description. But if you haven't liked and subscribed to Penhollow Studio Labs, used to be called Resonance Literacy with Avi Penhollow, I'm going to be reshaping this channel and repurposing a lot of that content and re-engaging with some of it. So the videos on here that actually do have a lot of views, I'm going to be mostly engaging with that content on here. But if you want to see anything on this channel, you want to know more about all the crap I was talking about this morning on the way to work, just drop a line in the comments below. I'd be curious to see how you ended up here and seeing this, since it's hasn't been a super active channel, but I plan to start working on it quite a bit more. A lot going on. I started the video talking about how I ended up in Southern California. Well, I actually didn't get to that part of the story. So I was working on my PhD in Missouri, and a pretty sad life event happened, and I lost my brother, and I ended up coming out here to California, what I thought was a temporary. I wasn't in my right mind. I was grieving, and the thought of trying to continue the doctoral work at that point was kind of delusional. And then we ended up moving out here. I had a lot of things I was trying to take care of, or thought I was going to take care of, and that I'm still working on 4 years later. And after several months of trying to hang with doing the doctoral program from a distance, I went back to work in education, and that's what I've been doing ever since. So I have some writing projects that are going on. I've got so many irons in the fire that I'm just trying to I've been trying to reconsolidate. The good news is that I'm about to head into technically a vacation. It would be like a working vacation, and I'm planning to really hone in on this channel And there's been a lot of things that I've wanted to respond to with this channel, and so I'll be doing that as well. I have a couple books coming out. One of them is about a person that I was close friends with, but also worked with in ministry of all things. And he was a semi-famous character in the American religious landscape because he had a very unique delivery style, and he had a unique experience of moving from Western to Eastern Christianity and having quite a few people follow him in that process, myself included. And that situation took me to all kinds of places across the country, India, so there's a lot to that story. So this book is really about him and about how he formulated his message. It's called There's Got to Be More, the unveiling the, I can't even get my own subtitle right, unveiling the prophetic life and preaching of Archbishop Varon Ash. Then the other book I have coming out is a children's book, illustrated children's book that focuses on a Filipino family. During Christmas time, one of the traditions in the Philippines is to make or buy these lanterns called parol, which are a large star that glow. But the story is really about a young boy who has a cousin visit him from the United States. And it's a book that's meant to celebrate the Filipino language, Ilocano, which is my wife's language. And then my son, who of course is half Filipino, I want him to be connected to his tradition, or his culture and language, which is exactly what I was working on and continue to work on, language and literacy, and what I like to call linguistic agency, which basically means the right to speak freely in your own language or dialect. And this book, I hope, will bring a lot of pride to Filipino families and for those who are interested. So the book is written in English. It has quite a few Ilocano, naturally occurring Ilocano phrases that appear throughout the book. And visually, I think it's really good. I've spent a lot of time on it. And then there was a book that came out before this called Let's Go Intayon, which was a full dual language children's book. You can get it on Amazon. Let's Go Intayon. Intayon just means let's go in Ilocano. And that was written by myself and my wife, translated by a good friend in the Philippines. It was in both English and in Ilocano, the whole story, which is based on a song that I wrote. And that was my first attempt at a children's book. This next one, I decided not to do dual language, just because I wanted to keep the story and the flow of the language, more natural to me. I'm not a Ilocano speaker by any means. So I wrote it in English. I might have it translated later, but because it's not lyrical, it's a little easier to do. But that'll be determined by whether there's a demand for it or not, and how long it'll take me to get a good translation going. Anyway, I've rambled on quite a bit. Just wanted to say hello for those of you who know me personally. Those of you connected to the channel who don't know me. Normally I won't be rambling on like this. I do this on my other channel, the Proximity Portal, where I ride to work and talk about random shit. Usually it's been political lately because of how insane things have been. But hey, if you're still here and you're still watching, thank you. And I will see you soon. Drop a like in the comments, say hello. We'll see you soon.